All right, and with that, we'll get started. We might have a couple more folks trickling in, but welcome. Thank you all so much for spending your Tuesday evening with us. We're really excited to feature these TTS 36 ladies and hear some of their stories, ask them questions, and allow space for you all to ask us questions as well. My name is Maddie Johnson. I've emailed with some of you. I've had some of you in webinars in the past, but I am the marketing and recruiting coordinator. I also was the literature and global studies teacher back in 2019 with TTS 33 and TTS 34. You'll catch on quickly that we label our semesters with that orientation. So the numbers are reflective of what number semester we're a part of. So 33 was the spring of 2019 in South America, actually, and TTS 34 was in Southern Africa. And these ladies that we're going to be hearing from tonight were our very first domestic US semester participants, which is really exciting. And we're looking forward to having another semester underway right now. Our 37th semester just launched on Friday of last week. They're in Arizona right now, having a blast, already starting a river trip. And our next year will be Western US as well. So I'll pass it over to our lovely TTS 36 cohort. We've got Megan, a faculty member, and then 3 alumna, and they are going to share just a little bit about what they are up to in life right now since semester, where they are tuning in from in the world, and anything else you all want to share with this group. So hit it, Megan.
Hi, yeah. So I was the math teacher on TTS 36, and we did Algebra 2. And now that I've been home, I'm substitute teaching in a lot of math classes in the area, and just tutoring in math and getting outside as much as possible, and missing the TTS 36 girls, of course.
And Megan, can you share a little bit about your world and experience before joining the traveling school?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I was a math teacher before high school math, and I taught abroad and taught in the US, and I was really interested in the traveling school just to like go with a bunch of women and teach abroad. I'd never been with just an all women cohort before, so I actually applied a few years ago and ended up on the domestic semester, which was awesome. Yeah, and it was my first time with a whole group of women, and it was just like incredible. Yeah, so math teaching all the way.
A rare breed for us. We love getting math teachers who also have that humanities ability to tap into and backcountry skills. So psyched to have Megan with us this evening. Maya, why don't you kick it off?
Hi, my name is Maya George. I'm from Vermont, and my pronouns are she, her. I finished senior year early after my semester, so I'm not returning to my home school. And instead, I'm doing some online classes with a local college before I go off next year to college. And so I know a little bit more about like the applying to college while you're on TTS process, and can help answer any questions for any prospective seniors. And I'm really glad to be here.
Thanks, Maya. And Ramon, who is up at 2 a.m. for us, all the way in Israel.
Yeah, so I'm Ramon Aram. I'm from a small city next to Tel Aviv in Israel. I'm a junior. I use pronouns she, her, and I just try getting back into school because my school doesn't work by semester, so I'm just like getting back into school, some activities, yeah, and just being around.
Love it. And finally, Ellie.
Hi, I'm Ellie. I'm from Connecticut, small town outside of Hartford, and I'm a junior. So since getting back from TTS, I've really just been working on getting back into school and getting back to that routine, and also going back to sports and other activities that I was part of, which has been really fun to get to do all of that again.
Love it. Nellie, I forget, are you a gymnast? Is that your sport?
Yes, I am.
Lovely. Thank you all for sharing. And yeah, audience members, definitely feel free to ask for clarifications and direct any of your questions to these ladies across the night, and to me as well. You can ask questions as they come up in our chat box, either to me personally or to everyone if you're feeling comfortable with other folks seeing your question. And I'll try to organically implement that question into our conversation. And if not, we will head into a Q&A with all of those questions from you as well. So I'll run through just some brief nuts and bolts of the traveling school. I know that folks in this Zoom room have varying degrees of understanding of who we are and what we do. So I'll try to cover that a little bit. That said, if we don't get to some of your more specific nitty-gritty questions, I'm happy to follow up with you on a phone call, over email, or direct you to some of our more informational based webinars that are all up on our admissions events page. We'll then spotlight these 4 ladies from the field, and then I'll open it up to your questions, and we'll finish off with just some thank yous and next steps in terms of application materials and processes, but hopefully we'll keep this to 45 minutes. And if we go a little bit over, I will not be offended if you leave us. All right. So I wanted to put Ellie on the spotlight a little bit to start. She just wrote us a lovely blog that is officially live on our website, and you should check it out. She is able to put into words so beautifully what her experience meant to her, but also left some messaging in there for you all as prospective students and families, just in contemplating this process and seeing what it can do to you. She says, to my future TTSers, I wish you could fall in love with TTS just like I did. I wish you could fall in love with the rustle of your tent at 11 p.m., blown by the wind as you lie awake after camp has gone quiet and the last headlamps have been extinguished. I wish you could fall in love with the hum of flies and the bugling of an elk from across the river as we bent over our homework during nightly study hall. Don't let fear of leaving home, of being away from your friends, of filling out all 500 pages of paperwork stop you. I believe in you. I know you're brave enough. I just loved that. And thank you, Ellie, for letting me share and read your words. I really loved them and was moved by them, and I hope you all are too. So with that, I wanted to share our mission statement. We believe in amplifying girls' voices using the power of transformative education to ignite positive change. We are not just a typical high school in that you come to school with your backpack and your notebooks and the information that you have stayed up late memorizing to regurgitate into an exam. We like to redefine the limits or lack thereof of what education can really look like and mean. And with that, we also redefine what classmates feel like, what teachers feel like, what outdoor recreation can feel like, and field trips, because we believe in the world really becoming your classroom. So if you are familiar with the history of the traveling school, we've been around for 17 years now. We're on our 37th semester. We did spend a lot of those 17 years outside of the United States. So we've had semesters in New Zealand, in Central America, in South America, in Southern Africa, in Western Africa, in Eastern Africa. And while more consistently, we were programming in Southern Africa and South America for the past several years, we are so excited to explore our own backyard this next couple of years. And for us, that really means that we get to partner with our friends or our friends of friends when we're looking for outdoor rafting guides and rock climbing guides. We're getting to reel in our, favorite authors who happen to live in the same town that we do and get them to give a guest lecture to our students. And similarly, we know this place, this country a lot more intimately, and our faculty do as well. So that's been exciting to see faculty who have explored these places, have lived in these places, and know just how to bring them to life and speak to their complex histories and current challenges and realities. So we do this all in this magical way where we bring anywhere from 10 to 16 girls through the Western US or different regions in the world for 15 weeks while bringing them through our own curriculum that we write in these 5 rigorous place-based courses. We are covering 5 different states. So we'll start in Montana, go through Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, and Arizona for our fall semester. And then we'll just flip that itinerary for the spring semester, following the sunshine, starting in Arizona, ending in Montana. All of the students and teachers are living out of a backpack, not the same backpack, luckily, but one backpack each. And that really inspires them to live a more minimal lifestyle, of course, paired with the fact that we have no technology. So the teachers do have technology, we'll have computers, we'll have cell phones, we'll have ways to get in touch with you all back home and with the home office. That said, our girls, for most of the first time in their lives, definitely for 15 straight weeks, are not connected to their laptops for assignments. They're not using social media on their phones. And we'll get more into what the nuts and bolts of that communication looks like with home, but they are definitely disconnected. And I'm sure these girls have some fun stories about handwriting a lot of papers. So real quick, I'll just go through some of the application details. Our priority deadline is coming up next Tuesday. So Tuesday, February 15th, technically at midnight, but we're not watching our watches. Don't you worry, we'll be okay with a little leniency there. Our application is on our website and it's a series of short answers. We ask that all of you who are considering applying look at our essential eligibility criteria before starting that application so that we know that you're the right fit for us and we're the right fit for you and we can support you well while you're in the field. If you've got any questions, please follow up after this, info@travelingschool.com, or my email, which I'll also put in the chat, mjohnson@travelingschool.com. And then we also have a phone at the office, and I'll throw that in the chat as well. We're happy to connect you with alumni families, connect you with former faculty, and of course, admissions team members in the office. So without further ado, I want to turn the spotlight over to these lovely ladies. I'll stop sharing my screen so we can see more of them and less of my screen. And I wanted to start off just with hearing a few answers, and Megan, feel free to chime in on this as well, but how you all found the traveling school and really more importantly, why? So what was it that you were craving from a school experience? Why did you start the Google searching, the parent conversations, and what did that process look like? Maybe we can start with Ramon, if you feel good kicking that off.
Sure. So yeah, I kind of found it, I was looking for something special, something new. I was looking as well for something to challenge myself and to find out how I can grow. And I was looking to get out of the 4 walls that I was living in. COVID did a lot for like making us stay indoors a lot. And I was just looking to something to like outdoors, something special, something different. And I wanted to learn and grow a lot, but actually learn and grow like way more than I thought I would. Yeah, and just something exciting, another adventure, and to see how you can do stuff differently.
Love that, thank you. Ellie, do you want to follow that up?
Yeah, so similar to Ramon, I really like, after COVID, I had been doing a lot of online school, like almost, I think it had been a full year by the time I applied, maybe a year and a half. And I was really sick of like going to classes where like, I thought they were interesting. It was interesting information, but like everyone was pretty, like they were just studying for the test or sort of not caring about what they're learning. Especially when online. And so I was looking for a place where maybe people would be more engaged and I would be more engaged with the learning. And also I really just wanted something new and different and like to get out of that online Zoom box.
Maya or Megan, anything to add there?
I would just add that I originally was planning to go to Southern Africa in 2020. I applied in 2019, or no, early 2020. I applied weeks before COVID hit the US. So my plans changed a lot in the 2 years before coming, and I'm really glad that I went, even though it wasn't really what I was originally expecting. And it was definitely, I agree with Ellie, a relief after being online for so long.
Love it. Thank you all so much. I'm going to pivot so that we don't spend too much time on any one question, but also if anyone ever has things to add, you can cut me off. Megan, do you mind starting with just thinking about framing the different types of days that we have at the traveling school? I know for a lot of you all, probably before your semesters started, you were confused about exactly what a traveling school day looks like and feels like. And we can do our best to paint that picture on the website, but you all are going to do it far more justice in storytelling. So yeah, maybe Megan, from the faculty perspective, thinking about full class days and more outdoor days and travel days and what all of those things look like. And then ladies, I would love it if I could hear some more fun stories and memories of what types of days, be them the more typical day or the more unique day, really resonated with you and are still holding meaning or fun memories in your hearts.
Yeah, okay. Oh my gosh, it's a lot to cover. We do so much. So I would say every TTS day is different. As like from the faculty perspective, really the only consistent thing of every day of the semester is every day at breakfast, us teachers have a meeting and we plan out what the day is going to look like. So sometimes that is, we have a certain amount of class hours we have to meet. So we're kind of troubleshooting, like, how do we meet all these hours this week on top of the like tour we want to go on, or the hike we want to do, or the thing we want to see, what speakers we may have, yeah, and like what fun things we want to throw in. So we're just kind of planning out the logistics of all that. And yeah, so I don't know, we always have a whiteboard and we usually do something silly like Magical Monday, and then we just kind of map out the day. And we stayed pretty busy. Like we had our schedule down, and I think at the beginning of the semester the girls were like, whoa, this is a lot, and then you just get an endurance for it. And I just remember, you guys can talk more about this, but they were like, well, what are we doing tomorrow and the next day and the next day? And we were just like, you'll find out tomorrow. And it like kind of stressed them out. But by the end of the semester, they were like, tomorrow's tomorrow. Like, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So some days it was driving 8 hours, and other days it was class in the morning and then a hike and then some more classes in the evening. Yeah, and we would kind of be creative with where we would have class. Sometimes we would hike in somewhere and then do a class and hike out. We had to plan our meals and what crews were going to cook dinner and what crews were going to clean up. Yeah, and we got to meet some awesome people along the way. And yeah, so much more to say there, but
yeah, I know I put you on the spot there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing. And I'll just add contextually, I know a lot of you are hungry to know, like, what will lodging look like, and how often am I literally just living out of a backpack the entire time and never being in a car? You will be in vans. The teachers are also driving those vans. They are tasked with this big picture logistics challenge, but you will generally have your itinerary mapped out. We don't release all of those specifics for risk management reasons, but we in the office create a big picture idea of what guest lectures they will be having, where they will be staying, what rivers they will be on, what week, what backcountry permits we'll have. And I think that allows the teachers to have a lot of that freedom, and students as well. If they're craving a certain lesson or a certain experience, there can be some of that flexibility, but for the most part, we want to provide that guide so that it's not so unstructured and overwhelming. And yeah, we will have some days where you'll be in that van for a while and making maybe a cross-state drive. Other days you might be staying at a campground and moving through different classes and getting all of those classes checked off for the day. And then other days, you know, it could be a Tuesday, but you're on the river all day, and so you won't have any classes. And I'll let these gals speak to some more of those fun memories and specifics, but we don't have any real weekends. We do have a lot of days that just blend together into, you know, when fun happens, when academics happen, when travel happens. So does one of you want to kick off that storytelling process? What some memories are that come to mind? Yeah, Ellie, hit it.
So one of the days that comes to mind was pretty late in the semester, and as the semester goes on, that responsibility of like making the schedule transfers from the teachers to the students. So on your LOD day, your leader of the day, you sit down with whoever your teacher partner is that day. And they say, okay, you have to fit in this, like these classes, this amount of hours, this outing. And then they basically like give it all to you and say, okay, so how is this gonna, like, how's tomorrow gonna look? And so I remember it was my second LOD day, and we had to have like 5 hours of class, but we were also driving down to go visit the city of Nogales, which is so Nogales is right on the US-Mexico border, and the wall on the border goes straight through the city. So we were driving the vans probably like an hour to get there. So I just remember like waking up really early that day, and like we were on my crew, which was me and Maya and another girl, were on cook crew. So we made breakfast and we set out stuff so everyone could pack their lunches in their Tupperwares. And then we got in the vans and drove to the border, drove around. One of our teachers, Leah, was like driving, like it was so hard to navigate that day because there happened to be like no service. So we were driving through the city, and then you just suddenly like you stop, and like there are 2 buildings, and in between there's this 30-foot wall. And we're like, well, I guess we found what we were looking for. So we pulled up on the top of a hill and like near the wall, and then we sat down in a circle, and we had an hour of class about we like read a couple articles about immigration policies and like some stories from people who had like been deported or had relatives on the other side of the border. And it's just like that was such a crazy thing to see, because you see like the wall on the news all the time. And then like we finished up class and we had to sort of like get back in the van, decompress, because it was like a very heavy, sad sight. And then we had to like drive back and we were doing like presentations in another one of our classes. So we did like all of our classes, and it was just like, especially since I was in charge of making sure where everyone was, it was such an interesting day because everyone, like we had to switch the schedule around because people were like, we just needed more time to sort of sit with like seeing the wall and sort of some of those readings. And so I think that's part of the magic of the traveling school, is just having that flexibility in your days. And like there's structure, but there's also like, what do you like, we have to get these things done by the end of the week, but if we need, like, what do we need today?
Thank you for sharing, Ellie. I love that reflection, and she's so right. The amount of skills in adaptability are pretty incredible that these girls are coming away with. And like she said, well, it can maybe feel overwhelming to not know everything or be able to have all the answers. Having a leader of the day who is a junior in high school, managing that schedule, working with a faculty member to come up with the structure for a day to support their peers and get the things done that need to be done, but also allow for that freedom and yeah, flexibility is huge. So thank you, Ellie, for sharing that day. Maya, wanna hop in next?
Sure. So one of my favorite days on semester was we were on our backpacking trip, and all week we'd been really stressed because we didn't know if we were going to be able to find a water source when we hiked in, and that would kind of determine our trip. And then in the middle of the night, it started pouring, and it did not stop raining for hours, and there was wind, and we were above a canyon. And we had been learning about canyon water systems for a while in science class. So all the water kind of like rushes down from the top uppermost points, like through the base of the canyon and out pretty fast. And we'd all been told like the water goes really fast through the canyon. And then like there's just a dry riverbed like soon after. And we hadn't really like quite understood that. So we spent while it was raining, we spent the morning in our tents doing homework. And then and we decided to not hike that day. And instead, our teachers took us down on a little hike into the canyon. We had some lunch, and then we had 20 minutes of exploration time before science class. And we were supposed to like explore what water systems we noticed, or water indicators we noticed in the canyon. And there was still a small stream running down through the middle of the canyon. So a bunch of us, there were only 6 in the group that I was part of, but we decided, hey, let's just follow the water up the canyon. So we found like the running stream, and we followed it up like through underneath boulders and around different obstacles, and just kind of observed where the water went up the canyon. And we had the best time just watching the water, like seeing where it went, and seeing all the little different changes that it made to the environment. And then, of course, we had enough water to get through the rest of the trip. We didn't have to turn back, and we like used that water to survive. And then we got back into class and kind of learned more about like the systems that we'd been watching and what that meant to the ecosystem there. And then by the next morning, we were hiking out, and there was no water left. And so we kind of went from experiencing like, whoa, it's flooding, everything's flooding, it's pouring rain, to like, this is a cool stream going through the canyon. And then all of a sudden, like all this magic that we'd been watching in science class is totally gone in a matter of hours. And then later that day, I think we had a history class up on the rocks learning about like the history of, or maybe it was between like while we were hiking, we landed at some sites, some archaeological sites from people who used to live in the canyons, and there's still buildings standing there, and we learned about the history of that and how they use the water and like the storm system there. So what I loved about that was like something happened in the moment, and we just adapted class, learned about it, and got so much more out of it than we would have if we just talked about it in class. And then also my teachers connected the two, the history and the science behind it, made it a cohesive day, learning about that storm. And we had a lot of fun.
Fun is the most important. Thanks, Maya. Ramon, do you want to add anything there?
Sure. So it was kind of a day that came up to my mind was a Saturday. Just because on Saturdays, on Friday and Saturdays, we don't have study hall at night, and instead we have these different festivities. And I was looking at a day in the beginning of the semester. We were on a 2-week-long canoe trip on the Missouri River in Montana. And we just woke up, packed up our like bags and tents, and then we And then we made breakfast, we ate breakfast, and we rigged our boats, the canoes, and we just went down in the river. We had one class on the canoes, like an iLife class in the canoes that we switched between us partners, and then had different discussions while we go with the river. And a part in the day that I really remember strongly was I think it was our first or second ever Saturday night festivities, and our teachers made this little party, and we all came out and they told us all to bring flashlights, and we all put on the flashlights in different colors and modes so that they flashed, and we had some music, and we just had a party and play charades at night. Yeah, and we had a class before we left, a class there between on the canoes or after, and then we have sometimes around it to do some homework, and then we had the party at night that was really fun. And it's just moving around the days and just making everything the most from the least that we had, and then bed checks and lights out and the next day.
I love that. I am glad you shared that, Ramon, because I feel like some of my favorite memories from semester were exactly that. The bathroom that we somehow turned into the dance floor, or the salt flats that we had a silent disco on. We still try to integrate these traditions that folks might be nervous about missing from home. So we'll try to recreate prom. I know these girls did prom, or maybe a homecoming dance, or graduation. We let the girls plan and take ownership of, and try to recreate what their graduation from a homeschool might look like. So creating traditions across your semester, and also inventing new ones. Some of them are year after year, semester after semester traveling school traditions, and then others are unique to each semester. And with that, I would love to speak to, I don't know how much everyone knows about this semester schools network that we're a part of, but we are a part of a group of 9 other semester high schools. Each of us have our distinct niches. We're in different places in the country and all over the world. We have different approaches to academics, whether they are completely mirroring the curriculum from IB high schools or traditional high schools. We have definitely a range in sizes and what activities are our specialties. And I wanted to just share that the traveling school is unique in how small we are, our lack of campus, and the fact that we're all girls. And I think these 3 things are really special. They make us unique. And I was hoping for some of these folks to share a little bit about what makes the traveling school unique, and speaking specifically to that community piece. So I know, Ellie mentioned being a leader of the day, or having a mentor, having different traditions, having cook crews, having clean crews, having that leadership opportunity, and also really redefining what teachers and students do together, and what conversations are allowed to leave the classroom. So would a couple of you mind speaking to just what was special about community at the traveling school, and why it felt different from your home schools?
Sure. So it's been such an interesting experience for me, because I go to a boarding school at home. I don't board, but a lot of my friends do. And even with that community there, which is super tight knit, it really can't compare to TTS, because when you have 15 people with you, when you have 4 teachers who are teaching all your classes and sort of taking care of you and being your mentors and working with you on your crews, it really does feel like a family. And I know that's kind of corny, but it's true, because you're these are your people, and you are you have class with each other, and you make meals with each other, and you're doing everything together, and so you get really close. And I think that's not an experience necessarily that you get at semester schools where there's 40 people in your grade, because since there's only 15 in our semester, maybe a few more, you can all sit down at dinner or have circle and all have one conversation, which isn't necessarily true when there's so many people.
Yeah, I think something that Ellie briefly touched on that really made semester stand out for me was circle time. So every Friday night, and if other issues arise as needed, we have circle practice, which is traced back to multiple different Indigenous practices from different groups around the world. And TTS has their own version adapted that we use to as a method for resolving conflict or just kind of getting to know each other better. In the beginning, it was like, what is something that you're proud of? What challenges you? And each person has a chance. We go around the circle and each person has a chance to speak. So it's like a discussion, but it's more like each person does have a chance, and we go around until everyone has shared their thoughts and there's nothing more to be said. And through circle process, we were able to work through a lot of issues that I think if we had the even just the ability to escape into our phone worlds for a little while and just kind of ignore and bottle up feelings, things wouldn't have really ever gotten resolved. But because we were living in this tight-knit community, things that happened affected everyone. So it was really necessary to actually have conversations about them and come up with solutions. And in that way, I think all of us learned a lot about communication and what it means to have supportive relationships with people and face the difficult conversations that need to be had.
Circle is one of my favorite traditions. It looks different on every semester, but yeah, Maya's right. It's a really cool space to have some fun discussions, but also talk through some of the more serious social dynamics that are coming up or challenges with the content that can be heavy at some points, and really important to give space to. Megan, do you have any additions in terms of what mentorship felt like for you as a faculty, and especially how that community piece felt different from more traditional high schools that you were teaching at in the past?
Yeah, totally. For me, I've just always taught in public high schools where I have 180 students, and I see them for an hour a day. And yeah, I think public school is awesome, but you definitely don't get into that transformative education piece as much, and you just don't get as much time with students, especially for me as a math teacher. It's we just do algebra mostly. And so being on TTS, it wasn't just, these girls are so curious and engaged, and we had rigorous classes, but it was all those moments outside of class too, where we'd be like, okay, this real life moment is connecting to what we're learning about, or we learned about nonviolent communication in an iLife class, but then we practiced it all semester. So it's a lot of real life application that as a teacher is the total dream. And yeah, getting to be there for all those little moments and watch these young women grow just as humans in and out of academics was just amazing. So yeah.
Thanks, Megan. I'm going to swirl this conversation into a question that just came in, and I'm going to try to combine two questions that just came in. But speaking about community, what do you all feel makes someone qualified to be a traveling school student? And do you have any advice for folks that are in the process of filling out their applications now? What would you say we're looking for in the office, and what would you say you felt was important to have in your cohort represented?
I think the main thing that comes to mind is and this comes with more and more practice and being forced to do it more and more, but really being willing to try new things and being flexible, because you're not going to be happy if you don't want to do all the new things, but if you learn to embrace it, like we are doing so much on every um, day on every semester that like it's just it's super fun because you get to do so many things in such a short time. But it does take a little, like it does take a little practice of getting into that routine and like being able to be busy and still being happy about all the things you're doing, even if you are busy.
Thanks, Ellie. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Maya.
Sorry. I just think the like common denominator among our group was all of us were like self-directed and did most of the application process because we wanted to and not because like parents or teachers were encouraging us to. And because we all kind of wanted to be there and had this love for learning, it made the semester more engaging and more fun. And we all kind of had that to tie us together.
Thanks, Maya. Do you all have any specifics in terms of academics and, maybe sharing with these folks a little bit about what level of rigor, what types of classes, what types of assignments you were engaging with, but also what kind of learner and student would fit best with our approach to academics?
I can speak on that a bit. For me, academics was really challenging since English is my second language, and all of the teachers were amazing and super supportive. So as long as you want to learn and you're willing to put the effort into learning, in whatever classes your semester takes, we had like math that was optional and math or independent study, and then we had like global studies, independent life skills, science, history, literature. Let me know if I forgot any class. And it's just like as long as you want to learn and I think you're able to, and it's just like something you really love and want to do. I think everybody can be good, like academically in DTS.
Thanks, Ramon. I'll just add that we do accept folks that are 15 to 18 years old at the start of semester. So that is quite a range and one that our teachers are prepared and trained to accommodate. We love the idea of differentiated learning regardless of age. We'll generally look at a student and think about how to push them to grow and challenge them with specific assignments and scaffolding that will support their growth as much as we can. So we're aware that folks are coming in with a variety of experience, writing that analytical essay or thesis writing. They might have been in a huge class where they never had to speak up or engage in discussions. They might have never had an assignment where you're being graded on more of the tell me more, the why, dig into that, what systems contributed to this context or idea, and maybe more just regurgitating facts. And so I think that's an adjustment period that some folks go through in terms of what gets you an A. And I think our most successful students are those who are less worried about the grade and more excited about just the challenge of what it looks like to expand their thinking and go back home more ready to be not just a critical thinker, but also a community leader. And I love that Megan touched on what independent life skills really looks like, because something like nonviolent communication could have come up as a circle conversation when they were talking through social dynamics or challenges, maybe that came about on outdoor adventure, and yet that then is something they can turn into a graded assignment based on how they want to learn how to give feedback across cook crews or with their faculty mentor, and skills that are really going to be taken into especially your college years.
I would also say with the ages, I was the oldest on our semester and Ellie was the youngest, but it definitely didn't feel like it. I don't know if you felt that, Ellie, but I didn't feel like that at all. So it doesn't, I think in normal high school, like freshman versus senior, sophomore versus senior seems like a really big difference. But when you're on semester living together, it doesn't feel as much when those outside like factors aren't involved.
Thanks, Maya. So I do want to respect all of your time, and I know that we're encroaching on our 45-minute window there, but ladies, if you have any last words of wisdom, maybe touching on anything that you weren't able to speak to yet tonight, but thinking about preparing this group of folks to finish their applications, think about their decision to commit to this, and just preparing them for what a semester with us really looks like.
One of the things I was thinking about is like when I was applying, I just didn't really know what it was going to look like without technology, like what school would look like and what communicating with home would look like. So one of the things is you have a phone call home every other week, which starts out a little hard, at least it did for me, but it's actually just really nice sort of because once you get to that phone call, you have all these things to tell your parents. Whereas if you were talking every day, there'd still be a lot to say, but it wouldn't be quite as much. And the other thing is being like, I have found that being away from like my phone was just, it made it so much easier to bond with other people. Because I know like a lot of teenagers, me included, is like when you're in this sort of awkward situation or like there's like silence and you're not having a conversation, like my instinct is to like reach for my phone or reach for something else to do. And you can't really do that. So you end up having so many more conversations, which I think is so valuable. And I'm kind of sad that I have to go back to all the technology, but that's the world we live in.
I agree. And Megan pointed out at one point to us that it's probably the last time or the longest time that any of us will have the chance to be like totally cut off from the news, from our phones and like instant information or like people reaching out to us and all the stress associated with that. And also for the time being, like COVID, we did have to wear masks in some circumstances, but for the most part, we kind of forgot that we were in a pandemic and we forgot what was going on in the news. And there are still things like I learned today that happened while I was on semester and I had no idea about. Like whole movies happened, we have no idea, and in some ways it's kind of like FOMO, especially for things that are happening with like family and friends at home, but it's also so freeing to be able to get a break from all those things and just focus on like the here and now and the people that we're with.
Megan, Ramon, any final thoughts before we say goodbye to these lovely participants?
I just want to bring up, and maybe one of you, Ramon, Maya, or Ellie could speak to this, but if students are worried about their grades transferring, that was like a big worry at the beginning of the semester. And I'm wondering if there's someone applying, but they're worried about how it might look for a college or how the grades might transfer. What might you say to that?
Ramon?
Yeah, I think Ramon is the most qualified to speak about this because she has the most, like, she made quite a choice to come on semester. But for people in the US who are worried about their grades transferring or applying to college, I obviously have not applied to college, but my college counselor tells me like weekly, like, oh, they don't care as much about grades as they do about, is this person like an interesting person who is able to live in a community? And you're getting a lot more of those skills. They're not going to care if you're taking AP chemistry and 5 other AP classes as much as they're going to care, like, are you doing things that you like and are you being adventurous?
I agree. They care more that you went to TTS than that the grades don't match your home grades or whatever. Also, TTS has honors classes, so they are naturally more challenging, and getting lower grades at TTS versus compared to like higher grades in non-honors classes at home still looks really good to colleges because they're honors, so they know that you'll be more challenged in them. And also my school has proficiency-based grading, and I was concerned about what that would look like because we don't have the traditional grading system. And they just submit 2 transcripts to colleges, and I have gotten into college on the TTS and home transcript. So it doesn't impact that at least in my case. And I know other people who've had an okay time figuring that out. And TTS and homeschools are usually pretty supportive of that. And also like summer school or taking an extra online class the year before or after is so worth going to TTS. So I'd say like figure out a way to like get that 1 credit you need or something outside of TTS because it's worth it.
Ramon, anything to add? I know your classmates put you on the spot a little bit there.
Yeah, I think as there's something to add, I was really nervous about like having to sacrifice other stuff to come to TTS, and I am so happy to say that it was worth every single sacrifice I did. And there is no doubt that if you really want to go to TTS and you think this is something that you can do and do the best at, then you should totally go all the way to it and have an amazing experience.
Love it. Well, I think on that note, we will start wrapping up. If you have any more questions that didn't get answered, definitely I'll put in my email right now to the chat. But definitely reach out. We are around and happy to support you and connect you with any of these ladies after this conversation as well. But again, our application for next fall and next spring are due on next Tuesday, February 15th. So try to get those started or completed. We are looking for answers to our short answer prompts, recommendations from teachers, a credit transfer form, and a copy of your transcript. All of that lives on our application page, but if you have any questions about those specifics, definitely reach out. And all I can say is between both of the semesters that I taught on, the magic is really, really real. The connections that I still have with my students from 2019 are really profound, and watching them take all of the things that they were passionate about now 3 years ago and just become that person if they hadn't already been a version of that person. But I have alumna from my semesters who are now like masters in public health and looking into social justice leadership opportunities. They are traveling the world, they're taking gap years, and they're just doing such incredible things. And so many of them attribute it, if not entirely, but mostly because of their semester with the traveling school. So I'll just echo all of what these ladies were saying about how the scarcity mindset is not one to go into a semester with. You're going to get such a robust experience in these 15 weeks. And those kinds of experiences are not only going to prepare you to be a much more interesting storyteller and friend and coworker in the future, but also just a more prepared and confident and empowered leader in this world. And we need a whole lot more of those. So we are excited to support you in your journey in becoming, a stronger leader and a more confident critical thinker. And that's my words of wisdom to you all. So I'll just say thank you so much, and please reach out with questions. I will follow up with these folks to make sure that I can share some of their contact information, but we have so many alumni and former faculty and folks in the office who are excited to talk to you all. So reach out, and good luck with your applications. We're looking forward to learning more about each of you. And with that, we will say goodbye. So thank you so much. Have a lovely rest of your Tuesdays.